not recording it. Okay, so we were, I think, in the last class, or rather, let me put it this way: last to last class, we were trying to, set up release procedure, and then during that time, we have some internet connection disturbances, so we could not able to complete it properly. 1 second, Lakshmi is calling. మార్నింగ్ లక్ష్మి మీరు జాయిన్ అవుతున్నారండి అంటే మీకు ఒక వేరే మెయిల్ పంపించానండి శ్రీధర్ దగ్గర నుంచి వచ్చిన మెయిల్ మీకు ఫార్వర్డ్ చేశాను దాంట్లో మీటింగ్ ఐడి ఉంటుంది ఫస్ట్ మీటింగ్ ఐడి వీ హ్యావ్ టు యూజ్ ఇట్ లెట్ మీ గివ్ యూ ద మీటింగ్ ఐడి ఆల్సో ఇట్ ఈస్ 67467 ఏదండి మన రెగ్యులర్ కాదండి నా మీటింగ్ ఐడి ఎక్స్పైర్ అయితే నేను శ్రీధర్ రిక్వెస్ట్ చేశాను సో ఈ క్రియేటెడ్ ఎ మీటింగ్ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఆన్ బిహాఫ్ ఆఫ్ మీ మెయిల్ చెక్ చేసుకోండి the meeting ID would be 674591573 no 674591573 yeah I'm just started in the mid ready right thank you. Okay, so we were discussing about the release procedure, the way, what is release procedure, what are the things that you need to consider for setting up release procedure, on what basis the approvers will approve the document, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go on to the slides. Okay, so by the way, can you all see my screen and you can hear my voice, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you. So the approval procedure, this is how it goes. You can set it up the approval procedure, that is online approval process, which is what we call it as release procedure on the purchasing documents. You can even set it up on the invoice also, but of course that's a different procedure. So when you set up the release procedure or the online approval process on the documents, unless you complete that activity, you will not be able to carry out the next or the subsequent steps. For example, if you set up a release procedure on the purchase requisition, unless the approval is completed, you will not be able to convert the purchase requisition into purchase order. Similarly, if you set up a release procedure on the purchase order, unless you complete the release, or rather unless all the approvals of the document is approved, you will not be able to transmit the purchase order to the supplier. So the key here is who are all the people to approve and whether they have approved it or not. Only when the document is approved completely, it will be released for the next steps to be carried out on that particular document. Hi Lakshmi. Okay, so if you are not speaking or if you have no queries, can you guys please be on mute? I think I have a couple of mutes. I guess one is Sudhakar, the other one is Lakshmi. Okay.
Sir, what's happening?
Yeah, we were discussing the release procedure, Lakshmi. We just started. Okay, so how to set up release procedure?
Okay.
The
Yes.
key terms that we have to understand it. So let me just open the Excel file. Let me write it here. So these are the steps that you need to carry out. The first thing is, while you are setting up release procedure, you need to identify based on what parameters would you like to approve the document. Okay, So based on what parameters would you like to approve the document? So that's the first step that you are supposed to carry. That is so step number 1, I would say identify the parameters to approve the parameters, I would say, used to be used to approve the document, and define them as characteristics. Okay, so this is the first step that you need to define. Let's say, now let me ask you the question, and maybe either of you three, Radhika, Pavitra and Lakshmi, can answer. You would have seen the approval process or the release procedure in your day-to-day activities. What are that you are supposed to look at and when you are approving the document? Let's say you have been asked to approve a purchase order. What are the things that you will be looking at? Can you guys give me, or do you want me to choose on my own?
Okay.
Yes, Lakshmi, go ahead.
So can you repeat the question?
Sir, there would be
There was some disturbance.
Yeah, the question is, let's say if you three have been set up as an approvers, or rather you take your own organization, and I'm sure you must be having approval procedures set up on the purchasing documents. Based on which parameters will your approvers in your organization approve the document?
the limits, execution authority limit.
I would
We
say
have a 50,000.
that is purchase order value, right?
Yes. So if the purchase order value exceeds above 50,000, we need approval from the site.
No problem.
So we don't.
No, Lakshmi, Radhika, let's discuss about the figures. Okay, 50,000, less than 50,000 or
We
100,000.
can process it.
Those
Yeah.
figures we will discuss it in the next 10 minutes. First of all, let me identify the parameters. You said one, the value, that is purchase order value, is one
Yes.
parameter which we will be looking at it. And what else?
Yes.
What else? Is it purchase organization, purchasing group, or a company code, or is this?
Authorization levels.
I'm sorry.
Authorization level, sir. Matlab is designation.
Okay, designation in the sense.
You should have the
Go ahead, Lakshmi.
which group, or you might want to call it as, in terms of technical terms, it should be a purge group. You should be having assigned to that particular purge group.
Okay, so let me go with purchasing group and then say company code also. Okay, can I go with these
You
three?
should have, you should have, yes, sir.
Or you want me to go with plant also? Okay, so let me put these
Yes.
four values. Let's say if a purchase order is created for a specific plant of a certain company code, and if the purchasing group is created by XYZ buyer, and if the PO value is less than say 10,000, these are the group of people to approve. That's what I'm going to specify. Okay, define them as characteristics. That's the first step that you have to do it. Second step, what you have to do is create a class. Okay, I would say instead of simply class, I would say create a release class and assign the characteristics. Okay, defined in step 1. Hi Sudhakar, morning.
Morning.
Okay, so create a release class and assign the characteristics defined in step 1 to the release class. Okay, so this is the second step that you have to do. Okay, here let me update it. Create a release class with, I would say, class type. There are different class types which we use it. Okay, the rest of the class types we will use only class type 032 while setting up the release procedure. The rest of the class types I will explain you when we work with classification and batch management. At that point of time, we deal with 001, 002, 010, 011, so on and so forth. Right? So for time being, we restrict ourselves with only this one. Then, step number 3, right? I would go with who are the groups. I would say identify the groups of people to approve the document. Okay? Or you can say these steps can be done one first, second one later also, but it should be you have to complete all these steps. Okay? Then there's something called release codes. Okay? For each person to approve, you will have a release point or a release code that needs to be assigned. Assign the release code / point to, I would say, release groups. Identify the groups to approve the document. Okay, let me append it here, and create them as release groups. Okay, create them as release groups. Then what's the next step? There is something called release indicators. You have to specify, you have to have certain keys with which system understands that a particular document is either completely approved or rejected or not approved. These statuses are identified by using keywords called release indicators. I would say define release indicators to I would say to indicate the status of the document. Okay, then in the next step, that's point number 6, here I will be setting up the release, or I would say approval strategy. Okay, so actually while setting up release strategy, here I will have to perform multiple tasks, 6 of A. Okay, while setting up release procedure, I have to understand what are the prerequisites. Okay, setting up release strategy. In this, let me put it as strategy 1. Okay, which Radhika is saying, if PO value less than, how much did you say, Radhika? 50,000. Or rather, let me take it my own. Okay, if less than 50,000, or rather less than, let's say, 1,000. Okay, let me put it as less than 1,000 INR, no approval is required. Okay, strategy 2, right? Strategy 2, let me put it here. If PO value, okay, between 1,001 and up to here 10,001 INR. Okay, that is strategy 1. Then rest of the things are common. I assuming rest of the things. What are the rest of the things? These are the ones. Okay, by what you call the purchasing group, rest of the things are common. Then this one, strategy 3, for example, PO value is between I'm sorry, okay, let me correct this one to 10,000. Okay, so then here PO value is between 10,001 to 50,000. Okay, is it 50,000? Yes, it is. Similarly, so the strategy, this is 3, this is strategy 2, and here I'm going to write it as strategy 4. PO value, I would say above 50,000. Strategy 5. Okay, so these are my strategies. So now in the 6th step, okay, how do I set up? So 6 of A, okay, there is something called release prerequisites, okay, which will tell you the sequence of approvals. Who should approve first? Who should approve next? Who should approve at later point? Then similarly, there is something called release classification. I'll come back to this each and every step while we are going with the demo. Then there is something called set release indicators. Okay, and then there is one more thing here, what we call it as simulation, right? So now let's work with each of these steps. The first thing that I said, identify the parameters to be used for approving the document and define them as characteristics. So here, while doing this, the transaction code which you will be using, okay, which will be using is CT04. Okay, let me put it here. I'll write it here. CT04 is the transaction code. So let me log into the system, or rather, let's see here. Do I have anything here? No. So this is our system, and 3. You need to understand one more thing here. The first 2 steps, these are master data. Okay, though this is available in configuration, right, but this is part of master data. Okay, so I would say this is master data setup, right? So look at here, because it's a master data.
CT04 answer.
Create characteristic. I'm going there, sir. Have a look at it. Because it's a master data, it is available under SAP Easy Access. If you go into logistics, you would see something called central functions. The characteristic definition is used at multiple places. Characteristics are used while setting up release procedure. Characteristics are used while setting up batch management or batch procedure or batch determination. Characteristics are used even for classifying materials or vendors, isn't it? So like this, we use the characteristics at many places. Why your system is too slow? Well, if it is very slow, let me use transaction code.
Meanwhile, I would like to ask you a question, or the topic question.
Yeah, please.
Whatever we define here in MM for the release procedure, is that the same applicable to SRM as well?
No.
Shopping cart. So you need to define an SRM separately.
Yes. The SRM
Okay.
shopping cart is different from ECC purchase requisition or purchase order. Both are
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
both are two different objects. So you have to set it up
Yeah, got it.
independently.
Sure.
What's happening? But can you please try logging into this system, or is this the system that we are using? I think so. Just give me a moment.
Sir, I'm trying to log in from the past half an hour. It is not. We are not getting into login.
Oh, is it? You should have let me know.
Yeah, there is a network problem, I think.
Give me a call to him. His name is Vira Reddy.
The problem is same from 9:30.
అలా నా మీకు చెప్పి ఉండాల్సిందండి. I would have given him a call, he would have rectified it.
I thought only because of my internet connection it is happening, I thought.
No.
What is problem? Are you not working this net? Huh?
Vira Reddy, good morning sir. నేను వెంకట్ అండి. సిస్టమ్ పనిచేయట్లేదండి. మన EHP 5.0 సిస్టమ్ నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాను. జస్ట్ ఇప్పుడే చూశాను. కొంచెం ఇమీడియట్గా రెక్టిఫై చేయగలరా? I mean, we are not getting the connection. Partner not reached. Yeah, network Sunday I was in the go-to meeting and I've been using different tools. Ping cheyamantara? 1 sec.
నాకు మా సిస్టమ్ షేర్ చేయొచ్చా మీకు? వెంకట్ సార్
సార్ ఫోన్లో మాట్లాడుతున్నారు.
ఓకే
ఒక్క నిమిషం అండి. Let me take the IP. Ping 122.169.246.136. Seems it's not going well already. Request timed out. Yeah. ఇప్పుడు అంటే నేను ఒక 1 minute క్రితం నేను లాగిన్ చేయడానికి ట్రై చేశాను. లాగిన్ పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అయ్యి యూజర్ ఐడి పాస్వర్డ్ ఇచ్చిన వెంటనే డిస్కనెక్ట్ అయిపోయింది. ఆ తర్వాత ఇంకొక స్టూడెంట్ మీరు 3 ఐడీస్ కదా క్రియేట్ చేసి ఇచ్చారు. అందులో ఒక ఆమె ట్రై చేస్తూ ఉంటే హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్ నుంచి ట్రై చేస్తుందంట తను. ఆమెకేమో అసలు యాక్సెస్సే కావట్లేదట. షీ థాట్ లైక్ షీ హెస్ గాట్ సమ్ ఇంటర్నెట్ ప్రాబ్లం. బట్ ఇంటర్నెట్ ప్రాబ్లం కాదు, బట్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ మీ దగ్గర నెట్వర్క్ ఏమన్నా ఎక్కడన్నా కేబుల్ ఎవరన్నా తగిలి ఊడిపోయిందా ఏంటి? ఐ సీ. కొంచెం చూడగలరా ఇఫ్ యూ డోంట్ మైండ్? కాదండి, అది ఏంటంటే నేను ఐ హ్యావ్ టు షో దెమ్. అంటే మేము ఆగు స్ట్రక్చర్ అవన్నీ క్రియేట్ చేసుకుని ఉంటాం కదా. ఐ హ్యావ్ టు షో దెమ్ ఆన్ ద సేమ్ సిస్టమ్, సేమ్ వాట్ యు కాల్ అదే క్లయింట్లో అదే ఆర్గనైజేషన్ స్ట్రక్చర్ అదే కంపెనీ కోడ్ మీద చూపించాలి. ఎవరు లేరా? కుర్రాళ్ళు ఎవరు లేరండి వెళ్ళడానికి? మీరే వెళ్ళాలా? ఒకసారి చూడండి అని అవకాశం ఉంటే ఒక 10-15 minutes. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Andy. System is down, it seems. He says it should be working, but as we can see here, it's not working. So he said like he'll go and have a look at it. Okay, so let me use this time to give you some theory. సుందరరావు గారు మీరేదో అడుగుతా ఉన్నారు.
నా సిస్టమ్ మీకు షేర్ చేయొచ్చా అంటూ అడుగుతున్నా.
మీ సిస్టమ్ నాకు షేర్ చెయ్యగలరా? నాకు ఐ డోంట్ నో ఎడిట్ ఆప్షన్ దీంట్లో ఉందా లేదో ఐఎమ్ నాట్ షూర్. అనదర్ యూజర్ ప్రెసెంటర్ చేయొచ్చు బట్ గివింగ్ కంట్రోల్. యా యూ కెన్ గివ్ ఇట్ టు మీ.
మీరు ఇచ్చిన ఫీల్డ్స్
యూ గివ్ ఇట్ టు మీ సార్. ఇక్కడ మీరు చూడండి ఈ ఐకాన్ ఉంది కదా. Okay,
చెప్పండి సార్.
1 second. I'll give you the presenter role. So what you have to do is, మీకు ఇక్కడ ఒక ఐకాన్ వస్తుంది, కింద నుంచి మూడవ ఐకాన్, దీన్ని క్లిక్ చేయాలన్నమాట మీరు. Let me make you the presenter. Sundar Rao. Okay. So request keyboard and mouse control. Yeah.
ఓకే సార్, షో మై స్క్రీన్ వచ్చింది.
కొట్టండి. అట్లా కాదనుకుంటాను. గివ్ మీ 1 second. I think I made a mistake. Venkat P. Okay. Show my screen. What I have to do is I have to give control of the keyboard and mouse to attend it. I cannot give it that way. Okay, so it means I have to make you presenter and then take the control. Sundar Rao. Right. Yes. Then you go with show my screen.
గివ్ కంట్రోల్ వచ్చింది.
ఇవ్వండి, క్లిక్ చేయండి. మీ స్క్రీన్.
ఓకే క్లిక్ చేయాలి.
ఓకే. మీ స్క్రీన్ కనపడలేదు నాకు. మీ స్క్రీన్ కూడా షేర్ చేయాలి మీరు.
ఓకే కొట్టేశాను. షో మై స్క్రీన్ వచ్చింది.
ఇవ్వండి. సే ఎస్.
వచ్చింది సార్.
ఓకే. నౌ థ్యాంక్ యూ. రైట్. మీరేంటి అట్లా వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు? ఇందాక మీరు ఎస్పీఆర్ఓలో ఉన్నారు, ఏమైంది?
ఎస్పీఆర్ ఉంది దాంట్లో. ఎస్పీఆర్ ఓపెన్ చేసి లేదు చేయలేదు సార్.
ఓకే. కీప్ ఇట్ యాజ్ ఇట్ ఈస్. నాకు కంట్రోల్ రాలేదండి.
లేదా
సిన్స్ ఇట్స్ నాట్ దేర్. You have controls. I have control. If I okay, 1 second. Okay. Right. మీరేం చేయదు సుందరరావు గారు.
నేనేం చేయట్లా.
Okay. All right. Let's have a look at this. I'm going into logistics. So from here, you have something called central functions. If you look at this one, central functions, as I told you, this class creation and characteristics creation, it's part of multiple applications. So therefore, this is placed under central functions, characteristics and class creation. So when you go into it, you have something called engineering. From here, if you go into bottom, you have this environment. Okay. Under environment, you will have classification. So when you go with classification, you see here class. Okay. Sorry, master data. Okay, so once you are in the master data, you have this characteristics. Let me just go with characteristics. So this is transaction code CT04. Okay, so here what we have discussed, I wanted to make PO value. Okay, PO value is one of my characteristic, isn't it? PO value is one of my characteristics. So what you can do is, you see here, you just go with create. So if you can go with create, it's going to create a characteristic. So while creating characteristic, there are two ways which you can create the characteristics. One is refer the existing one and then create your own. Such kind of characteristics are called reference characteristics, and you create a characteristic on your own without referring any table fields. Okay. The second option, that is what I'm saying is the defining a characteristic without referencing to any of the table field. Such characteristics are called freely definable characteristics, which we use it in classification and batch management. And there are also some other characteristics called standard characteristics. We will discuss about freely definable and standard characteristics when we work with batch management and classification. Right now we are working with release procedure, so therefore we use something called reference characteristics. You see here, while working with reference characteristics, what am I supposed to do is I have to refer an existing table field. Okay, I have to refer an existing table field. So for that, I'm just checking if this system is available, so that no, not available. Okay, so for that, you see here, I have not entered any description, I have not entered any data type, nothing has been entered in the basic data. I am directly going into additional data tab. Okay, so here you see there is something called table name, and also there is something called field name. So here, let me introduce you. There are two, or rather three structures. Okay, what we call them as communication structures. I'll go with transaction code SE11. Okay, which is nothing but data dictionary. There is a communication structure called, let me go with CE band. For example, if you are setting up release procedure on purchase requisition, I've given you the table for the purchase requisition, which is EBAN, EBAN. Okay, you just have to add C, or you have to suffix it with C. That is CE band. CE band, C meant for communication. Okay, so CE band is the structure for the purchase requisition, where you could see various fields. You see here, there are 78 fields available for setting up release procedure on the purchase requisition. Sundara garu video chestha unnaru.
చేయలేదు సార్ పొరపాటు.
Okay. No, don't do anything. Let me take the control. మీరేం చేయొద్దండి. Okay. So even the other day when we started this one, we have discussed about release procedures are of two types. One is release procedure without classification. Second one is release procedure with classification. Let me take you to the material management. Without classification means you need not have to use class and characteristics. With classification, you will be using classes and characteristics. What does it mean? With classification means you will have a better control, you will have a broader scope. Without classification, your scope is restricted and you will be restricted with only few characteristics which you can use it as parameters to approve the document. Okay, so now let me take you to the configurations so that you can clearly see what does it mean by classification and without classification. Let me take you to purchase requisition. As I told you, this release procedure can be configured on any of the purchasing documents, whether it is PR, PO, RFQ, contract or scheduling agreement. Let me show you the purchase requisition. So if you are into this, you have something called release procedure. Have a look at this. Release procedure. When you go inside, set up release procedure without classification. Second one is procedure with classification. So these are two types of release procedures. Let me explain you first without classification. Like I told you, without classification, it's a procedure with restricted scope. Okay, and as I said, with classification you will have a better control. Wider variety of parameters can be chosen to approve the document. With classification, that is with classification. Without classification, number one, the scope is restricted. Number two, you don't have a proper control. You do have a control, but not enough control, right? So if you go without classification, I said your scope is restricted. What does it mean? It means the parameters to approve the document will be restricted to 4 parameters. What we call it as plant, purchase requisition value, material group, and account assignment category. Okay, these are the only 4 parameters which you can use. You cannot use all the parameters or all the fields that you see in purchase requisition. So without classification, this is the disadvantage. With classification, you see here, with classification, how many can you have? Oops. 1 second. With classification, you see here dictionary. When I go into CEBAN, I have shown you there are 78 fields. All these fields can be used for approving the document. But without classification, you are restricted with only few characteristics. Those 4 characteristics, right? So only those four characteristics only you can use them, like plant, purchase requisition value, material group, and account assignment category. Okay, and also this without classification is obsolete. Nobody is using. The only advantage without classification is item level release is possible, that too in the purchase requisition. Whereas with classification you cannot go with, or it doesn't support item level release. You have only header level release. Okay, now let me take you back.
So what do you mean by item level release?
Let's say your purchase requisition has got 10 line items. Each line item can be approved or rejected, provided if you set up release procedure without classification. Whereas that is not possible with classification.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
Right. So let me take you back. In case of, okay, and there is in this EBAN is the table for purchase requisition, CEBAN is the table for communication structure for the setting up of release procedure on the requisitions, and for all other purchasing documents, that is outbound, or rather the other purchasing documents, PL, RFQ, PO, contract, scheduling agreement, you have this table. CEKKO is the purchasing document header table. So if you add E, then you will have the communication structure. You see here there are 31 fields which you can use to approve the document, right? So now what have we decided? We have decided one of that field is purchase order value. Okay, so purchase order value, you can see if it is available here in this structure or not. If it is available, you can refer the table field so that you need not have to maintain the data entry into this structure definition, sorry, characteristic definition. Like I said here, I did not specify anything in the basic data. I did not specify anything in the descriptions, and I'm not going to specify anything in the values. Now I simply going to additional data. Look here, I am adding CEKKO. This is my structure. Okay, field name. In this structure, what is the field that is equivalent of PO value? Okay, so here, if you go into the communication structure itself, okay, you would see something called net order value. I'll just go with Control F. I know the table field, so I'll go with GNETW. That is nothing but net order value. You see here, total net order value. That's the table field for the order value of the PO. So what am I going to do now? You see here, this is the component which is nothing but the field name. So what am I doing here is I'm going back into characteristic definition. I have already given the table name. So here now I'm going to do GNETW. So it means what? What am I asking? I'm instructing the system, you look for the properties of this field in this table and populate rest of the data into the respective fields. You see here, now I'm trying to moving out of this particular additional data tab. Now the system says format data taken from above dictionary. It means what? This PO value is of how many character length, what value should it hold, does it require multiple values to be taken into consideration or not. All these things will be picked up. I said I just hit enter. Now it's asking me, you enter currency. Obviously PO value will have 100, 200, 500, 600 currency, INR, USD, whatever that you have to specify. Now you see, I did not enter number of characters. System has picked it automatically. Similarly, descriptions also I did not maintain. Even that's come automatically. How? Because of the reference that you have maintained here. Okay. So let me enter INR here, the currency as INR, and then if I go into additional data, so what is this doing? This PO val characteristic is trying to get created with similar features and properties of GNETW created in table CEKK. Okay, hit enter. Go into descriptions. You will be seeing the description as well here. Okay, and now if you go into values, okay, so here either you can set the value here or you can set the value at later point of time as well. Let me maintain the values here. In the strategies I have discussed, if the PO value is less than 10,000, less than, is it 1,000 or 10,000? I think 1,000. Less than 1,000, no approval process. If it is more than 1,000 up to 10,000, there is one strategy. So it means what? Value up to between 1,001 to 10,000 is 1. So you see here, keep the cursor here in the characteristic value. I'll go with the F1. so that my system displays some documentation. Okay. Now if you look at here, between, look for the value in between, from value to value. Okay, I can choose this one. I copy it. Okay. Now display IMP, no, display structure, no, display characteristic. I'm at this point, so go into it. So here you add it. So here to value is 10,000, whereas from value, okay, I would say, oh my god, it's been taken out. I'm assuming, I'm just taking a chance. I'll just say hit enter. Okay, so that is for the first strategy. For second strategy, what we discussed, same thing. Value 1 is from 10,001 onwards.
ఫస్ట్ ఐటమ్
Hmm.
1.0 అని రాశారు సార్.
ఏంటండి?
ఫస్ట్ ఐటమ్
Hmm.
ఫ్రమ్ వాల్యూ ఎంత సార్? అది 1.00 అన్నా.
నేను 1 పాయింట్ ఇవ్వలేదండి, అది డెసిమల్ని, సారీ కామాని డెసిమల్గా తీసుకున్నాను అంతే. డెసిమల్ని కామాని డెసిమల్గా తీసుకున్నా, అది నేను ఇవ్వలేదు. అది మీకు అక్కర్లేదు అలా. లుక్ ఎట్ హియర్, environment, no, system, user profile, own data, go to defaults. ఇక్కడ మీ సిస్టంలో మీరు అలా పెట్టుకున్నారు, అందుచేత మీకు అలా వచ్చింది, రైట్? సో ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు చేంజ్ ఇట్ నౌ. I want it this fashion.
ఓకే సార్.
Save it. Okay, back. Okay, so మారుతుంది ఇది. Look at this. All right. So ఏంటండి?
నెక్స్ట్ ఫీల్డ్ కూడా అలా నెక్స్ట్ ఫీల్డ్
మారుతుంది, వస్తుందండి.
సరే సార్.
Okay. 20,001 to, I would say 50,000. Okay. The final one is greater than 50,000. Okay, so I will go with greater than value 1. You see here, why I am copying this one is, you should not add any space, or if it is supposed to have a space, you should not remove any space. That's the reason. Okay, so I used to copy it, but otherwise if you are, you know, confident and comfortable typing it, you can just go ahead and do it. Okay, now you see here, PO value, these are the values that I'm going to be used in my release procedure or in my strategies. So here, once again, I'll go back to basic data. You see here, in case if you are going to give multiple values in the value tab, okay, so you have to choose multiple values. సుందరరావు గారు మీరు ఏదో ఆపరేట్ చేస్తున్నారండి.
చేయలేదు సార్, మౌస్కి చేయగలుగుతుంది సార్.
Okay. Right, so you have to choose multiple values, and also there is no guarantee that you create a PO for 1,000 or 10,000 or 20,000. It's not the multiples of 1,000, right? There could be a problem. There could be a situation where you will be creating PO for 1,525 rupees. So therefore, that is what we call it as range. That is intervals allowed needs to be specified, and the PO should not be created without value. In that case, you just go and check this entry required. Then you go and save it. Why is it not moving? Okay, PO value is created. Now you could see సార్ మీరు ఏదో చేస్తా ఉన్నారు మాటిమాటికి కంట్రోల్ ఐఎమ్ లూజింగ్ ఇట్.
ఏ సార్ నేను చాలా దూరంగా ఉన్నాను.
Okay, so where is it? Notepad, I want notepad. Okay, so PO val is one of my characteristic. Similarly, you will have to define rest of the characteristics. Okay, so like purchasing group, I'll just go with PGRP, go with create. Okay, once again I'll go into additional data. Okay, so here I give CEKKO is the table. Okay, I know the field name. There is something called EKGRP. In case if you do not know, you just come to this particular display communication structure. Okay, so here you look for purchasing group. Okay, so how do you look for purchasing group? Either if you know the table field, you can give it directly, or else you see here Control F, something like GROUP. Okay, so this is what you should find out, right? Once you know the table field, what you can do is you get back to the creation mode of the characteristic. Okay, now you see I've entered the right one, enter. Okay, so then you are back in the basic data. Okay, so here are you going to add single value, multiple values? You choose them accordingly. Okay, and also you specify entry required. Okay, and then you can actually choose purchasing group is a 2-character key, 3-character key, 4-character key, right? And then you go to values. Okay, so what are the values that you have already set it up? If you have any values that set it up already, something like NIS or something, okay, you can specify those values, or you can even give it later point of time as also. I'm just saving this. Let me see if it is okay. System is not available. Okay, so here you could see PGRP was created. So I'll just go and update mine. PGRP. Okay, then we have decided, like, we'll have one more, two more characteristics. I think one is company code, second one is plant. Okay, so let me go with plant, go with create. Okay, go to additional data. So here it's the same way, CEKKO, and then the plant is WERKS. That's the table field. Okay, because I know the table field, I'm giving it directly. When you don't know, you look into structure. Look for plant over here, Control F. Okay, as you can see here, plant is WERKS. Okay, so therefore create characteristics under here. Okay, you hit enter. Okay, and then how many plants would you like to use it for your release purpose, release procedure purposes? Multiple or same, only release procedure to be set up only for a single plant, then you go with single value. If it is for multiple plants, you go with multiple values. Okay, and then go back to your values. What's your plant? I guess 777C, and then 77 Pune. Okay, so you specify those two plants and then you save it. Okay, now the plant is also got saved. Okay, so
సార్ ఈ ప్లాంట్ కోడ్స్ నేను ముందు మెయింటైన్ చేయలేదు, వస్తాయి అవి?
ఏమండి,
ఈ నిస్సాన్ గ్రూప్ ప్లాంట్ కోడ్స్ నేను నా దాంట్లో మెయింటైన్ చేయాల, అయ్యో మీకు డిస్టర్బ్ అవుతాయా?
you have to create your own plant.
ఇది బేస్ అవ్వలేదు, 777 అవి వేయలేదు నేను.
So therefore, you see here, characteristic plant already exists. Oh, okay, so this is already there. I'll go with change. Okay, so here, when it is not 777, you should be having your own plant. Okay, so ikkada, because I'm assuming, had it been my system, it would be 777C. In your system, 77C would not be there, so obviously this will not work. So what you should do, you have to enter your own plants which you have configured. Okay, similarly, even the first one, purchasing group, I think I have given NIS. Even that's also the same way which you have to work with. Okay, I'm not sure మీరు ఏం చేశారో. Okay, I got my system back. So let me do the same here so that we can do it quickly. Right, so let me take back the control. Venkat is the presenter. Show my desktop. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I'll quickly go into this, have a look at this. CT04 is my transaction code to create a characteristic. Come on. I was still having issues. Looks like system is still not behaving properly. Are you guys okay if I take another 45 one hour class, or do you want me to stop now and take it in the evening or tomorrow or Monday? What would you prefer? Because you have to have a
I'm
proper
okay.
sequence.
I'm
Monday
okay,
is better,
sir.
Venkat.
Sorry, Monday better. ఎవరంటే శ్రీధరా?
Yeah. నేనండి.
Monday is better, sir.
ఓటింగ్ ఫర్ మండే.
Yes.
సో రేపు వద్దండి మరి, రేపు అక్కర్లేదా క్లాస్ మీకు?
I got a number of engagements.
ఏం సార్ ఎక్కడికైనా ఫంక్షన్కి వెళ్తున్నారు ఏంటి?
ఫంక్షన్లు ఉన్నాయి, అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి. మా అబ్బాయి గొడవ చేస్తున్నాడు, ఏదో కొనమని. చూడాలి.
యా, ఐ థింక్ ది సిస్టమ్ ఈస్ నాట్ యెట్ రెడీ అండి. తను ఏదో చేస్తున్నట్టు. సో in that case, shall I stop it in that case? Then we will have
No
again
problem, Venkat.
fresh look on Monday, because these things that I'm configuring on Sundar's system, if they are not there, it will not work. So then there's no point in discussing that. Okay. So
No problem, Venkat.
hope you are okay with Pavitra and Radhika.
Yes, sir. I'm okay.
All right then. అయితే మండే కంప్లీట్ చేద్దామండి దీన్ని. I require at least 1.5 hours, without any
No problem.
breakdowns. So
No problem, sir.
start congestion. Okay. Today it does not work. I don't know why. I'll have to check with you. Then one more thing is, Sridhar మరి ఈ మీరు పంపించిన ఇన్విటేషన్ ఉంది కదా, రికరింగ్ ఇన్విటేషన్.
అది 6 వచ్చేసి రికరింగ్ అండి.
కరెక్ట్. అది యూ హ్యావ్ టు లాగిన్ ఎవ్రీడే, అదర్వైజ్ మేము లాగిన్ కాలేమేమో.
లేదు, లాగిన్ అవుతామండి ఎవ్రీడే లాగిన్.
ఓకే. జస్ట్ ఇన్ కేస్ ఒకవేళ మీరు లాగిన్ అవ్వట్లేదు అనుకోండి, వాట్ ఐ నీడ్ ఈస్ ద ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి అండ్ ది పాస్వర్డ్, నాట్ ఫర్ ద ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి బట్ ఫర్ ద గో టు మీటింగ్ రిక్వెస్ట్.
షూర్ అండి, నో ప్రాబ్లం.
అవి ఇస్తే నేను లాగిన్ అవుతాను. Or else I'll also check it now. ID ఎంత ఎక్స్పైర్ అయిందో. Okay, so let me stop it here, and we will see it on Monday.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, Pavitra, I'm about to ask. Yeah, please.
Sir, can we create a characteristic for the using material group?
Why not? 100%. Material group దగ్గర నుంచి plant purchasing group, anything, account assignment category, item category, there are so many things in it. That's the reason I wanted to show you here on my system. ఎందుకంటే ఆయన సిస్టమ్ లో when we are looking at, I don't know how my screen appears to you, but Sundar's screen to me is appearing only 1/4, so it's really difficult for me to focus into the field. To answer your question, material group can be defined as a characteristic. What not? There are so many which can be defined as characteristics. Provided if you are going with release procedure with
Hello,
classification.
Venkat sir.
Yeah, without classification also material group can be defined as you can use it. Yeah, one after another. ఎవరో మాట్లాడారు ఇందాక. Sudhakar is one person. Other ఎవరండి? Is it Radhika or Lakshmi?
Right, let me go ahead first. The thing is,
This is me, Lakshmi.
Yeah. So, Sudhakar, please wait for a moment. Yes, Lakshmi, tell me.
ladies first.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay, Sudhakar. Just go ahead. That's fine.
No, that's fine. Don't worry. You carry
It's
on.
okay.
You carry on.
Okay. The thing is, okay, we have many. This is a questions to sir.
Mm-hmm.
We have many reports to to find out the values, the amount for material masters. Like we have Mara, one of the report.
Mm-hmm.
What about the service masters, sir? Do we have any particular report that will help us identify the service masters that have been created for a particular plant or for a particular outline agreement?
Okay, I'm here to explain you about service masters and or rather external service management. Lakshmi, yes,
Okay.
like material masters, service masters also got saved into table, but material master data, as I told you, when it is about to get saved, it stores into multiple tables, whereas service masters are maintained at client level. So therefore, your plant has no role to play. A service master created in say client 800 does appear in client 500 also. Why? Sorry, I'm sorry. A service master created, these are created at client level. So therefore, whatever the service masters that are available in a specific client, you could see all of them that have no role to, I mean the plant or purchase organization has no role to play in it. There is a table for service masters.
Okay.
And if you, like Mara, you said it's not a report, it's a table. Okay, so Mara is a
Correct.
metal master
Okay.
table. Even for service master also, what is the table? I forget to remember the table. But if you go into SC03 transaction code, SC03. Give me a moment. Let me log into a different system.
Lakshmi, you were asking about the report, isn't it?
It's not report. It's what she.
Right. Yes.
Give me one moment.
Why I said report is in we consider that as a report. Like we have EKBN, EKAB, EKKO. Those
Right,
are
because
for
They are
calculation
have-
purpose or reporting purpose.
Go ahead, Sudhakar.
Sorry, you don't have access to SC16 or SC11?
They have access to SC6, not access.
We do.
They don't have access to SC16, but they have the custom transaction GSE16.
Oh, right, okay. So there's
CSE
one
16.
there is one report called MEATFM.
We do.
You use that.
Correct. So
There is-
to generate the purchase orders related to a particular vendor or to take a look at the purchase orders assigned to a particular outline agreement. So we use all these either MEATFN or EKK, EKAB, EKKO, EKPO, all these reporting transactional codes, whatever you call it. TSTP.
Yeah, I think the help is not maintained here in this table, so obviously I would not be able to get it. But there is a table for service masters, but service masters are created at client level. So therefore, yes, you can see all the service masters with prices and all. There is something called service conditions. Lakshmi, what you are asking is about service conditions. Service conditions can be created for the combination of plant and purchase organization, or for plant, or for generic also. For example, let me give you. In fact, this is how the IOC does. Indian Oil Corporation, right? Whoever could be the vendor, if a certain service needs to be performed at IOC, Indian Oil Corporation, they'll pay the same amount, irrespective of whether you are a grade vendor or B grade vendor or C grade vendor. That means what? Those service conditions are maintained at client level. Okay? Or let's say, let me take my case. For
Correct.
example, me as a Venkat, if I go and teach SAP MM at Siemens, okay, I will have a different rate. Corporate trainer, a different rate, 15,000, 17,000, or 20,000 per day. Same Venkat, but if it is teaching at if he is teaching at a different place, the price could be different. This is called plant specific. Here I am doing the same service,
Correct.
but because the plant is varied, the price will also be varied. This is called service conditions. So service conditions can be maintained at client level, purchase organization level, client level, or this combination. This we will see it in ESM, external service management. That would be your last chapter. But in case if you think anything,
Okay.
before, maybe we'll have some 10 minutes, 15 minutes session, and then I can show you once the system is ready.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why I
like-
was asking this question was, my buyer wanted to know this particular service master. For example, we have a truck, vac truck coming to the site. How many times the vendor has been there, and how much is the amount he's been charging for that particular service for example, Embers works. So he's been asking, and we're not able to give a proper solution to it. So he want how many times the service master has been used for this particular plant. Only the
I'm
this
sorry,
one, for
I'm
example,
sorry,
hydrogen.
Lakshmi. I'm trying to,
So that
I'm
is my
trying to
question.
get your point, but your voice is echoing. I can't get it properly. You're saying something, some truck, but your voice is echoing,
Okay.
so I can't hear it properly. Can you repeat it, please?
You're not able to hear properly, sir?
I think it's okay now.
We need, okay, we need a report that will show us for example, one particular service master, which is for a vacuum truck coming to the site. There's a particular service master to a particular chambers work site. So how many times did that happen in a span of a year? How much he has charged?
Okay, so that's what you would like to know.
Correct.
Okay, in that case, what you have to look at is you have to find out all the POs created for a particular service. Like, you have something called POs created for a specific material. You do have a report. Let me see it if I could put it for you. Material management. Go to services. Okay. It's not there here. So what is it? No. Look at here. Maybe I can just show you this way. You said you have got access to SE16. Okay. So you go here, you give EKPO. Okay, so here you can modify your search. Okay, so here what I need is item category D, that is service, and also I also would like to have fields for selection. Let me just go and find it out. If I have anything for service master. It's not there here. I'm not seeing the field which is relevant. So here, what you have to do is you have to identify the service master. Okay, if it is not there, if it is not there here, you have to do something called table joining. Even that also, with that also, you can pull the information. I'm not seeing the service masters. Give me a moment. Let me go with SAP1. Did I ever show you this transaction SAP1? This is one transaction which is very, very
I
useful one. You can see all the reports at single place. Okay. So here, look into material management. Service simplicity. If I go list of services, you see here service list for purchase orders. You can go into this one, MSR V3. You enter the service number Lakshmi here. You go with execute. You will see all the service orders created for this particular service with the total order value. So that's what you wanted, right?
correct.
Yeah, you can go with this MSRV4. This system, whoever has configured.
MSRV4. So after going to CAC 16,
No. Directly, straight away, MSRV3. GSC 16 is not required. This is a report.
okay, just the transactional code.
Yes. You can
Okay.
go with this and you can find it out. I'm not sure whether you have access to MSRV3 or not. But that you have to work with your basis team.
Correct. Right, we'll record, sir.
Yeah. Sudhakar, your question, please.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sudhakar, మీరు ఏదో అడగబోయారు ఇందాక.
Sorry, yeah, I was muted. Right. The question is, we are defining characteristics for different, like pure value, material group, plant, and etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we define more than, say we have called without classification, we have classification.
Correct.
Let us go for without classification, where we have a restricted 4 to 5 roughly, where you can set up that.
No fives are only 4.
Only 4, yeah, okay?
Yeah.
So, now what is the difference between without, you did explain to me, but my question is, on the performance side of the workflow, will it have a drastic impact if you use classification instead of without classification? Because you have an option of choosing wide range of, what you call those
Parameters or characteristics. Yes.
parameters, okay?
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
So is there a necessity to add on material groups and etc. So that performance of the workflow takes more time, as number of transactions are in the workflow system for approval process? Is it advisable to use less parameters rather than more parameters? That's my question.
Answer is no, sir. Okay, so as long as whether you have 1 parameter or 10 parameters, the condition needs to be evaluated. If you are having more parameters, I mean to say more characteristics, okay, that means your what you call the validation that triggers becomes complex. Once it is evaluated, once it is triggered, let me tell you how the workflow works. First of all, as you know, workflow is an event-based activity. A particular event has been triggered, means what? A PO has been created. That's an event. When the PO is created, the workflow starting conditions needs to be evaluated. Means if the PO value is more than 10,000 or less than 10,000. Okay, more than 10,000. That is fine. If the PO value is more than 10,000, what is the actual PO value? Is it between 10 to 20 or 20 to 50 or more than 50? Right? Let's say it's 10 to 20. Right? So in this particular process, the more the number of characteristics, the more the validation steps that you need to build into your workflow process. But otherwise, once the evaluation has taken place, there is something called determine approval step in the workflow. Means which approval needs to be picked up and which approval needs to be intimated that there is a shopping cart or there is a purchase order is awaiting your approval. So at that point of time, that is sending work item to the approver, will have no performance degrading effect. But like I said, the more the number of characteristics that you use in validation, it's obviously takes little longer time. But performance wise, I don't foresee any issue.
Right, okay.
Because the validation takes place while you are creating a purchase order or any document. Once it is done, then the workflow triggers. Okay, so once the system evaluates the conditions, the starting conditions, and then the logic that you built based on order value, based on company code, maybe for a particular company code, for a particular, let's say I've got 3 company codes, company code 10, company code 20, company code 30, right? For company code 10, if the order value is less than 10,000, no approval. For the other company code, which is 20, order value is greater than or order value is less than 20,000, no approval is required. So these are number of conditions that the system has to evaluate. These are all part of starting conditions in the workflow. At that point of time, it evaluates. Once it is evaluated, there is no effect, there is no what you call difference for sending a work item to the approver.
Okay, sorry, I'm a bit confused here. I appreciate what you said. What I'm trying to understand now is another question. We have a purchase requisition. Purchase requisition gone into a series of approval process. It's approved and converted into a purchase order.
Correct.
And the purchase order is created in ECC. And a purchase order, sorry?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, the purchase order is created in ECC, and there is an amendment taking place on the purchase order, and that's how it kicks in a release strategy.
Okay, so let me try to understand the question.
Is it right?
Yeah, let me try to understand your question. Let's say you said you have a purchase requisition and you have converted that requisition into purchase order, right?
Yeah.
Where was the approval process set up, on requisition or on order?
No. Okay. Purchase requisition, there is a approval process approved. Yeah?
Correct.
There is an approval process approved, converted into purchase order.
Right.
Then why should I have another approval process for a purchase order? It only comes in or it only kicks in when there is an amendment taking place on the purchase order. That you call it as a release strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that my concept is right? Or is there something missing here?
Okay. See, once a purchase requisition is completed, of its approvals, you are creating a PO. Right? So once the PO is created, because your approval processes are only on requisition, your PO just transmits to the supplier, provided if you have not configured the approval process on the purchase order. But if you want to have the approval process on both requisition and on orders, it can be done. How? Let me tell you. A purchase requisition is created.
Sorry, Venkat. When you said orders, is it a purchase order or is it a work order?
It's a purchase order, not work order.
Fine. Okay, fine.
Okay, you have a purchase requisition, approved it completely, converted into purchase order. Okay, purchase order is created automatically. Assume it's created automatically when you run this. The transactions I'll show you in the next few sessions. Auto conversion of PR into PO. It got converted into PO, transmitted. Right? There is no change, nothing, no amendment has taken place. Now, the PO which is transmitted to the supplier, you wanted to make amendments. Right? How do I do this?
Yes.
This is where, if that is your business process, then in that case you have to have the release procedure on the PO as well. All the amended POs needs to be approved. If that is your case, business case, then in that case you have to require another approval process on the purchase order as well.
Correct.
If you don't require approval process on the amended POs, then you have no control. At least you should have version management. If you don't require approval process or for the amended POs, you require version management for the POs. Did I explain you the version management? Did we gone through the purchasing configurations?
Sorry, I'm aware of that. I'm not sure.
Okay, you were a bit, right, that's fine. So in that case, there is something called activate version management for the purchasing document. So once you activate it, when you are changing the PO, it gives you, this is PO number so and so, version 2, version 3. So therefore you have to have a proper communication with the vendor, that vendor should always deliver the material from the latest version of the so and so PO.
That creates a change order basically.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
fine.
Yes, that's how you should go. Does that answer your
Right.
question?
Fine. Okay, that's fine. Venkat. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions from anybody?
Yeah, sir, I have a question.
Yes, Pavitra.
Sir, in a particular organization, they are not using the process of RFQ, and if they want to start using that, is there will be any response time? It will affect any response time.
What do you mean by response time? Which response time are you talking about? Or the RFQ
And like
response
if you
time?
click on RFQ, if the many suppose 200 buyers are using at the same time, so is that SAP response time will affect if you click on some transaction code or something?
Okay, that's a performance question that you are asking. As long as your system resources are enough, you see these questions. Okay, so if I have to explain you, I have to explain you the requirements also. Requirements are of various types. What we call it as functional requirements, business requirements, performance requirements, okay, security requirements, so on and so forth. So what you are asking is performance requirements. Performance requirements are always measured in the range. The response time of the system should be between 3 to 5 seconds or 3 to 5 microseconds, like that you have to specify. So as long as your response time is within the permissible limits, that's okay. If the response time is not within permissible limits, we have something called trace. We activate the trace, we see which activity is taking more time. Accordingly, we will analyze it, which table is taking more, the heaviest time. Based on that, why is it taking, things like that. And then if we can do anything on the table from which it is pulling data, there is something called indexing. Okay, normally we create indexing on the tables. We ask the ABAP to create an indexing on the table, so therefore the search becomes faster. That is for the searching. So what you are asking is, if I have an RFQ which I have given it to 200 people, they have to come back with their responses. That is what we call it as bid response in e-procurement. In other way, in ECC, if I have to say quotation, they respond with their quotation, right? I don't foresee any performance related issue here, right? Once you are getting quotations from different vendors from different systems. So even if all the people are sending you quotations on the same at the same instance, after all, it's a table update. Okay, it's a table update, so they can be easily done. You are not extracting anything from the system. You are entering data into the system. So I think that is fine.
Okay.
See, the performance issues comes only when you, for example, I wanted to see all the purchase orders created for a specific material in the last 10 years. It means what? System has to look into the relevant tables for the purchase orders of a certain material. Then it takes a lot of time. Unless you have a proper indexing on the tables, it keeps on, searching, and then after 10 minutes, if it is coming, that's a bad report. So therefore, you have to do indexing on the table so that the search becomes faster. So that
Okay.
so when you are extracting data from the table, then you have performance related issues, not when you are updating the table.
Yeah.
Sorry for my understanding. Sorry, Venkat. Did you come across this issue?
No, I didn't get an issue. Just asking means like if we are using a multiple transaction codes, then is there any system responses delay or?
Right, okay. That explains what Venkat said. Fine, thank you.
Anything else? All right. So if you have no issues, then we will stop the session for today, and then I'll have the session on Monday, and hopefully, yeah, by this time the system will be ready, and we will complete the release procedure on Monday. Okay.